Welcome to the Casual Bois Podcast. I'm Francisco,
And I'm Brandon.
and we're here to talk about movies, TV, current events, memes, and the internet.
But keep it casual.
Yes, of course, we always keep it casual. Now, Brandon,
Yes.
I'd like to have a conversation about what we've been watching lately.
Okay. Do you want it to be casual?
Yeah, casual. So, like, if it's like
Casual.
YouTube or TV or streaming service or, other people, like your neighbor's window, like whatever you're watching, like, we want to hear about it. So,
I don't get along with my neighbors.
yeah, I don't. My mom, it's kind of funny. My mom recently learned one of our neighbors' names, like
Really?
the first name, and they've been living next to us for 10 years.
That sounds about right. I've had the same neighbors since I've been in 4th grade. Never bothered to interact with them, really.
Yeah. I almost ran over their dog once, right?
Why are you saying right like I know?
Because we were there. You were there. We were like leaving your house, and then it like jumped out on the road or whatever.
Oh, my neighbors. Okay, you
Yeah.
said your neighbors. So
No,
I was like,
not
what?
my neighbor. No. I don't even think they have dogs. I don't know. But I wanted to, before we get into what we're watching, I wanted to ask you, because I feel like this is an important question. It relates to our last podcast. Morbid question, if you died, what Halo theme would you want played at your funeral?
Okay,
We'll go with main theme for main series games.
I'd say, oh my gosh, it would be a tie between. Do you remember the Arbiter's theme in Halo 2?
No.
Whenever the cutscene is on the Arbiter, it's a very like majestic, kind of somber thing. Whenever they're taking place in High Charity, it's either that or Halo 3.
Okay.
In Halo 3, it but it plays kind of at the end, you know. But I don't want like the solemn one. I want the big Warthog Rush one. So like as they're putting me into the ground, just like the
yeah. Let's see. Well, technically, I think this will come up on the recording, but let's see. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably won't get sued for that. For just having those couple seconds. That'd be good. I think I would definitely.
Please, Marty O'Donnell, please.
Huh?
I said, please, Marty O'Donnell.
Yeah, please don't sue us, and please let him use it at his funeral. I would probably want like is it the one from Halo 2, where it's just like an electric guitar one?
Yes.
I know that one.
Whenever, usually, if it's an electric guitar, it's usually Halo 2.
Okay, yeah, not because of like any kind of I'm like a metal head or anything, yeah. Just because I feel like Halo 3 would be too like it would capture the funeral moment too much.
Okay.
And I don't.
You want like the just like Highway to Hell kind of feel to it.
Yeah. But hopefully I'm not in hell. Yeah, there it is. So something like that. Just to like lighten the mood a bit and confuse people before they go back to like mourning me. But back to
if this happens, you're like, yeah, now I remember why he's dead.
Yeah. Like, oh, he was always into some weird stuff. But
that's not what you want to hear at your funeral.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, no, that'd be awkward.
And the eulogy is like, yeah, I liked him enough, but I never really wanted to know what he was doing behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's funny considering the people like that. I feel like, oh, I hate how terrible this topic is, but I'm just gonna keep talking about it anyways. The people in my life that would be giving eulogies, I feel like I have no idea what they're capable of. So like, my parents have like heard you speak before, but they've never like heard you like speak about me or anything.
Right.
So I have no idea.
No,
like,
it's daunting whenever it's like the subject is you.
Yeah.
And you know whatever they're gonna say.
Yeah.
Like I'm terrified if ever one day I get roasted. Partly because like I kind of know what they're gonna say about me, but partly it's just like you don't want to hear that reflection of yourself.
Yeah, there's so I feel like there's some people I'd actually be kind of interested in what people would say, because the people I'd pick to roast me wouldn't be people I didn't like.
Yeah.
So I feel like
it wasn't coming from a place of contempt.
Yeah. So unless I like got my enemy up there somehow, I think I would be okay. I'd want to hear what they had to say, and then I would like in a different day come at them like twice as hard.
I can see why you wanted to save this little bit for the podcast.
Yeah, cause I this is gold right here. You don't wanna waste it by just talking while playing Rocket League. Um,
And the reason this actually ties into the whole subject was because I had mentioned to him that a streamer that I watch, Garrett Wesley Thomas, he mentioned it just randomly in a stream. I'm like, that's actually a good question to have the Halo song play at your funeral.
yeah, what was the song I sent you? Was it that one like anime intro that I sent you that it was like a bunch of people wanted it played at their funeral?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Renai Circulation from back to our normal topic from the show Bake Monogatari, which I got my friend to watch finally, or to finish watching because he had watched like the first 2/3 of it, and then he just never got back to it. So I got him to finish watching it and or to start over. And then I watched a couple of the episodes with him, like via like actually. So we were both watching it, but I was like we were FaceTiming each other, and so I had my TV muted, and I kind of tried to sync it to his sound.
Yeah.
So I was like everything I was hearing was coming from his end, which worked pretty well. And so we watched a couple episodes that way. But yeah, what have you? What I mean, it can be in any order. Like I just talked about like a TV show. What have you been watching lately?
A lot of Twitch and YouTube.
Mm.
I've been so busy the past couple of months, and for me, whenever I watch a show, like I need to get invested into it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds trivial, but I can't help but making that emotional investment,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and I guess I'm still a little bit hurt from Game of Thrones. That I don't want to like heavily start a new show.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
So if I watch a clip or anything, that's totally fine.
Mm.
But with Twitch and YouTube, it gives me the freedom to, I follow very devoutly
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm watching, but also I can, always just pause the video if I want to watch something else and go to a new thing. So that's just really been what I've been watching with all that.
Mm.
And plus, if I have Twitch on, sometimes at work, I just put it on mute. Usually just because like they're in the middle of a gameplay or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't miss out on certain things, but when I have time, I can go back and do it.
Who do you watch on Twitch?
It's a very odd mix. I don't follow any of like the big Twitch streamers.
Mm-hmm.
I follow them, but I don't actively find their stuff. So like what was James from Couch Hop? His name like Uber X Nova.
Yeah, something like that.
I follow. He gets notified when he's streaming, but I never watch any of his stuff.
Are you like so burned from what happened with Catch Up, or you just don't watch it?
No, it's just he has so many people come into his streams.
Oh,
and
okay.
then, it's fun to see him doing it. So it's not so much me talking to him, but whenever you go and interact with a smaller streamer, and it's more likely they'll read your stuff, and it's almost nice to have your like conversation a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I remember one time it was this one channel. I forgot the name because it was a long time ago, but it was back when YouTube started doing the super chats.
Right.
And I remember it was like one of the first live streams they ever did, so they didn't have any like super chats or anything yet. So some people started giving like a couple of dollars or something, and like I don't know why, but I thought it would be funny if I just gave them $69, because I was like that's a funny number, and I was like, I don't know, I guess I wasn't hurting for money at that moment. So I was like, I'm just going to give this. It's going to be funny. And nobody laughed. But they were just shocked. They were like, what the heck? Somebody just gave us $70? Like, that's like a whole game. And I was like, oh, I guess I could have just given them like $6.90. But I thought that, So.
They were so grateful. Like, we actually got money from this.
Yeah, right? And I was like, okay.
I'm sorry about that. That's a guy I follow. He's one of the people who's always with Ryan Higa.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Greg, and he streams with his fiance Dana.
Mm-hmm.
And every time somebody donates $69, he laughs, and like he genuinely enjoys getting $69. So I've seen the joke be a payoff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe one day it'll pay off for me.
Yeah. What about yourself?
But I haven't done a super chat since that was.
You've just been scarred and discouraged.
Yeah. So for me, I've noticed that I'm really good at like consuming television.
Yes.
Like movies, I can't really watch. I don't know what it is. Just maybe because they're too like relatively short, or there's like too much investment in that span.
Yeah.
But like with shows, it's a little more spread out. It's a little more chill. You know, you have your little what's it called? You know, you get your little neurotransmitters getting hit, your serotonin or whatever. So like every 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever, you have that like conclusive satisfaction, or at least you have that like
So
cliffhanger
this
satisfaction.
is your ambient.
Huh?
This is your ambient.
Yeah, it's basically my yeah. Well, it's not trying to make. It's more like my like meth or something. I'm sure. I don't know how. I don't remember how neurotransmitters work. But so yeah, I've been watching a lot of anime just because like I don't. I like have my like seasons where I like really like anime, or like I really like sitcoms
Yeah.
or like procedurals or whatever. So lately I've been on an anime kick, and it's mostly because like a bunch of anime that I wanted to watch are back. Like ReZero season 2 is back. Um, Fruits Basket is back. There's I mean other ones that I found. So recently there's this one called Made in Abyss, and it's from 2017, and it like Crunchyroll gave it like Game of the Year. I was about to say it gave it Anime of the Year. And it was like 12 episodes, not, and it had like the way the art style is like the kids like the main characters are like 12, but they look like little kids. So I was just like, I don't know if I want to watch little kid anime. Like, and it's also like a really like critically awarded one. So I'm like, it's probably like gonna make me feel shit that I don't want to.
It's one
So
of those animes.
yeah,
Not so much about the jokes, but more about like,
yeah,
I want to like curl up in a ball.
and like especially when it's like young looking people, like it just like it looks it like it's more. I feel like it's more emotionally for me.
Yeah.
Because if it's like someone that's supposed to be like either late teens or like college or whatever, they they're adults, so like it doesn't look as relatively painful as if like a 12-year-old that looks like a 7-year-old was experiencing it. And like that anime like had some crazy like emotional stuff in it, like not like trying to make you cry. It was just like really heavy moments, and it was super good. And I think they actually released a movie, or they tried to, but it got like corona at the beginning of the year, so like it didn't go everywhere yet.
Right.
Um,
No pun intended.
yeah. Excuse me. I'll cut that out. I'm gonna clap here so I know. But anyways, yeah, Made in Abyss was really good. 12 episodes. I watched it in like.
Whoever's listening to it, you just got corona through the ears.
Yeah, I know, right? We got Sonic Corona. Um, so Made in Abyss. I was watching it. I watched it. I think I watched like 4 episodes the first day, and I was like, "Whoa, this is actually pretty good." And so the next day, naturally, I watched the rest of the 8 episodes in one sitting.
Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. But
it reminds you of that time we talked about on the YouTube episode when you said you like your stuff in long segments. Whenever you find something, it always has to be not even 20 minutes. It has to be more than 20 minutes.
Yeah, which is it's interesting that I don't like Twitch streaming very much. Like I don't respond to that kind of thing.
I don't blame you, because for the longest time I was not about it. I knew the concept, but the whole thing about Twitch streaming, just like it just seems kind of like not benign, but more of just like passive. You just have it there. Occasionally you respond, and there's no one script. You don't know what's gonna happen, so you're just kind of not wasting your time, but kind of wasting your time.
Okay, Joe Rogan.
We'll get to that later on. I have some stuff to say about Joe Rogan. But eventually, when you find the right people to be watching, you really get into it. And I hate to admit how much time I've spent on Twitch, just because like I'll be thinking of a joke, and I'll be, oh, this is gonna be funny, and they'll respond to it, or somebody in the chat's gonna respond to it. And actually, it's fun. I have spent maybe more time than I care to admit on Twitch, but the payoff whenever somebody acknowledges you, it's pretty great. It's pretty great.
I think my thing is that I don't really like games that people stream.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Because, like, those games are usually ones where, like,
Like the ones that are big at the moment? Or?
yeah, well, big and also, like, multiplayer stuff where, like, it's not like you're following a story or, like, experiencing a story with someone most of the time. You know, some people
it's very
do.
competitive and you just have
Yeah.
to win the match.
And you have to, like, understand what's going on and, like, I don't know, I'm not about that life. But I do like, so I like a podcast. You know, it's no coincidence that we like started doing this. But I do like ones that are like 2 hours. Now, would I ever make a 2 hour podcast? I don't think so, because
Never say never.
that's a long time of me talking. Yeah, right. How long is this one going? But I think earlier today I was watching one. I was watching Dude Soup, Funhouse's Dude Soup. Shout out to Funhouse, and it was only an hour, and it was only three people, but it was also only an hour. So I was like, man, I wish this was like, because sometimes they'll get into like 90 minutes, depending, I think, on how many sponsorships they have that week or whatever. It's like if they have 3 segments worth of sponsors, they'll have an hour and a half or whatever. Um, but they did an hour, and I was listening to it while I was cooking, and I think that's become like more of a thing for me, where like when I'm cooking, I'll listen to a podcast when I'm cooking or eating, but like if I'm you know, if I'm watching TV, or if I'm sitting down to watch something, I'd rather it be TV. And I haven't been doing this as much, but I was like, I had a really bad like habit of I'd put on like a show on my TV, and then I'd be watching a podcast on my phone, like a video podcast, or I'd be listening to a podcast
So
on my
you're
phone.
just getting all sorts of information all
Yeah,
at once.
so I'd be like ignoring King of the Hill and like kind of listening to like kind of funny like one of their podcasts, and then scrolling through Reddit.
Yeah.
Like this is probably like really bad for me.
Yeah, I think that got mentioned at a certain point in my communications class about information overload, where you have so much going on, you don't really retain anything. And then if it's retainable, it had to be very special in the moment.
Yeah, it had to like take you out of everything else.
Yeah. There's no like moment when all three of them synced at once and you got like the ultimate information overload. So there's something you remember from King of the Hill, the podcast, and read it all at once.
It was just me being constantly like at conflict with myself.
Yes.
There is man, you see it because all the like stuff that goes through my mind. I don't remember if somebody told me this or like I heard it on a podcast or whatever. But the thing about like getting ideas when you're like showering or like pooping or peeing or whatever, like how the reason that happens, a lot of people think, is because that's the only time that you're like quiet. So like when you're not watching TV or reading something or listening to music or whatever, is when you're in the shower or when you're pooping. Now I started recently reading a lot more, and so like it's kind of hard to like be listening to a podcast and reading, so I'll like play music, but I feel like that's probably not good.
It depends on what music you listen to.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it helps a lot.
Okay.
Some instrumental helps, some like stuff with lyrics helps. It just kind of depends on what you want with that.
Yeah, I've mostly been listening to either like so like LCD Sound System, because their songs are like really long and they're like kind of repetitive, like the lyrics, like because they're like supposed to be mostly for dancing, so like you don't really have to pay attention to the words because it's mostly like the music doing the work. But most of the time I do end up like listening to like for at least the books I've been reading are like light novels, like Japanese light novels. So I'm listening to like either like K-pop or like stuff or
Something to fit the
J-pop.
mood.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean the mood, but also stuff I can't understand. So like if I'm not like actively trying to pay attention to what the words are saying because I wouldn't know them. I wouldn't know them if I heard them. So that's been. I feel like that. It's funny. I feel like that's more like calming. Like I have this lamp in my room, and I'll like put my computer chair like in front of the lamp, and then I'll like rest my feet on like this bench that I have, and then I'll just like read by the lamp light.
You having the fireplace. The lamp is your fireplace.
Basically, yeah.
And then this is your study.
Yeah, kind of. It's like a little section right next to my bed is my study, and it's also funny because my house is like very dark, and I have like a lot of curtains and like So like even if in my living room like at noon, it's not enough light to read by, which is kind of crazy. There's actually this skylight that it shines like towards a mirror. And so sometimes I'll sit in front of the mirror and then the skylight light will be reflected off the mirror onto the page so I can read. But otherwise it like is so dark that it, like reading makes me sleepy cuz like my eyes are doing so much work to try to see the letters. Yeah. So that's what I've been watching. I've been watching books. Um, do you remember there was an episode of Community where Abed and Troy both liked this librarian, or
Yes.
she like worked at the library, so
Yes.
they were just like books. They would like run away. Yeah,
Like didn't they get like I think it was a suitcase of tacos or whatever
yeah.
to woo her? Yeah.
I think Troy. Yeah, I think he just had a briefcase with tacos in it.
Which I would accept. Like
Yeah.
if somebody gave me a briefcase of tacos, like, hey, we want to invite you to a dance. I'm like, sure. Neither of which has happened to me yet. So.
It's the mark of a true businessman.
do you usually go for podcasts with a video aspect, or do you sometimes like just the audio only format?
I like the video aspect, which is not evident by how we do this podcast, but I do like the video, and I like the option of having the video. Um, but I don't. Probably 80% of the time, I'm not listening. I mean, I'm not listening and watching.
Yeah.
I'm just like listening and doing stuff. What about you?
It depends on who it is. I think at this point, um, I can't just listen to a Joe Rogan podcast unless I've already seen it beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, just because it's gotten such a staple of having stuff done on camera that it's as much a part of the podcast as just the audio itself.
Yeah.
But certain other ones, such as, and some of these come on public radio, but other ones I do like listening just to the audio by themselves. Just because it kind of reminds me of the old-timey sense whenever people would only have radio and they could only just imagine what's going on in their head.
Yeah.
So it gives me a nice callback of what that used to be like.
Yeah, and then you'll have the one that's like, "Welcome to the Casual Bois Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm Francisco."
And then, I go that I'm listening to the episode for a couple minutes. I'm like, no, I don't like this.
We should do like one where we're like from the 50s, like, "Welcome to the Casual Bois Podcast."
Accent? It's a Colgate Power Hour.
Yeah. I forgot. I think that's called like
Transatlantic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Is it transatlantic? Yeah.
They mix it between transatlantic and mid-Atlantic.
Okay, yeah. I think I've heard mid-Atlantic, yeah.
It's a fake accent regardless.
Yeah, like Frasier.
Yes.
Yeah. Frasier. I do miss that show, man. Apparently they're trying to bring it back.
Oh, really?
But I don't know. They should. I remember there was this joke, more TV. We're just going to talk about TV now. There was this joke on 30 Rock that was, there was a show on NBC at the time called Black Frasier, and it was just like two black guys that were like in suits, and then like an older black guy, and then they were like talking like Frasier and Niles, but they were like green screened onto the Frasier set, like they weren't even actually there. I would watch the crap out of Black Frasier though. That'd be so funny.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
They had a lot of interesting show ideas on that show.
Yeah.
It was very meta.
Queen of Jordan was really good. She was like the original like Real Housewife.
Yeah.
Even though I'm sure that those shows came up before the Queen of Jordan thing. But yeah. And that's where the world was introduced to DeFwan, who later was on the Kimmy Schmidt show. That was a pretty good show too. I guess that one kind of just ended. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I never finished it though. I finished.
How far did you get?
2.
Okay. I think I got recommended to that by Armando.
Nice.
Shout out to Armando. He's nobody that you guys would have known. But yeah.
I don't know. That man is very well connected.
Yeah. I don't remember why. I think it was when I was working. So backstory. me and Brandon used to work in a dorm, and part of that job occupation was working the front desk of the dorm and like signing people in and taking calls and stuff. Um, and so other people that also worked in the dorm like could sit back behind the desk with you and hang out. I think one time it was like probably like midnight, like on a weekend or something when nobody was around, and like we were just hanging out in the desk, and he was like telling me about that. Or maybe he was working and I was hanging around the desk. I don't know. That was good times. I watched a lot of anime back then.
Yeah.
Like that's when I first, I think, started getting into it.
I watched most of regular show
During the
summers.
shift.
Because I would always be working about midnight to about 4 in the morning, and then so I would get some stuff done, and then whatever free time I had, I found a site where it was like, oh, you can watch a regular show. I didn't have Hulu or anything like that, and so I just binge watched.
Yeah, that was before.
That was before some of the habits. Like if I would ever do something good, like I wouldn't do it super loudly, but I'd be like,
That was before the streaming services were like really worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because like now they're like super useful, but back then it was just like we have a couple shows that nobody watches anymore, and then The Office.
Oh man, that one. And now Peacock is a thing.
Yeah, have you looked into that at all?
No, I haven't. I've heard decent stuff, and I think mostly because they took The Office and all those nice, really big stuff NBC had, and then there's some Peacock originals which I haven't checked out yet.
So by the end of the year, The Office was gonna be gone from Netflix, or what?
I think so.
Okay. When was the last time you watched an episode of The Office?
This doesn't count, but probably the day we were hanging out when, which was last week when we did the podcast, and we were just watching stuff from Robert, California.
Oh, yeah.
And so later that day, I just went and I watched one of his episodes, and it was the one when he comes in and he was hungover, and people were talking to him. He's like, shh. And he goes, throws up and almost like automatically.
Yeah. Man, Robert California, the Lizard King.
Yeah.
Gosh, I maintain that he's very underrated.
I think so too. I still love him.
Yeah.
Well, Bob Kazamakis, as you might know him.
He's definitely one of those characters that it just vibed with me completely. And like I know some people wouldn't like it, but I just implicitly love it.
After all these years, he's gotten love now. People are like, yeah, he was a weird but great choice.
Yeah, considering that like a lot of that season was not great, especially like the Andy stuff. Like Andy was just like,
with the Andy stuff.
Huh?
I was mixed with the Andy stuff.
Yeah, Andy is just like so many weird, nonsensical swings and misses. But especially after all the work they did to like make him seem really sympathetic, like he came back from rehab and then, or not rehab, anger management, and then the whole thing with Angela cheating on him, and then he gets with Aaron, like everything leading up to that was so cool, and then they're just like, let's ruin this character. Like Ryan's already a terrible enough character. Let's have Andy join him. Ryan is one that I could never. What do you think about Ryan?
I was always on and off with him.
Okay.
I think one of the first times I really disliked Ryan was when he brought Michael to his college class.
Yeah.
And just kind of say like, oh yeah, this is not how you're not supposed to run a company. But one of my favorite moments from that sequence was when Ryan takes like kids or the students' book and he tears pages out.
Oh, Michael, yeah.
Yeah. And then he starts like trying to show an example, and he's like, oh, I should put this back. And the student, he's just like so sad and dejected, and he's like, this is like a good 3 to 4 seconds where it just shows his face, and just like so because he paid for that.
Yeah.
And college textbooks suck.
Yeah, that textbook was one of those like $200, $300 textbooks too. Yeah, it was. I really liked the beginning of his speech. I think it was before that part, like right before it, where he was like pulling out all the candy bars.
Oh right.
And he's like, and eventually you could make a $100,000. And then he throws that one. I like that one. Yeah, I think.
How often do you find yourself going back to rewatch certain things because binging with Babish had a really good way of putting it. He's like the same way that certain people like to go back to certain songs and listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I do the same thing with TV shows.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, and I saw like I don't know if this was on like Black People Twitter or like, something on Reddit where it was just someone's tweet that they took a picture of. And it was like a lot of people rewatch shows because like they have anxiety.
Yes.
So they like rewatch it because it's familiar. And like,
and you know the outcome of what's gonna happen.
Yeah. And I don't think I have anxiety, like, so I mean I used to, but I don't think now I have really that bad anxiety, but I still do that more. And I think that's just because, I mean, it might be due to that like familiarity, but also I think it's also like you don't, like earlier talking about, and last week we were talking about like investment, right? And like you don't have to be invested in stuff you've already seen as much. Like it's, in fact, it's even a little harder. Like I was rewatching, I was rewatching the anime, the Monogatari series, and like I was like, whoa, this is so cool! Like all the things that were here the whole time that like were setting up things in the end. Like I finished the last like 20 episodes, and then went back and started rewatching the whole thing, and I was like, wow, like this guy really had it all figured out from the start, kind of thing. And so like that was cool, but then like once I got in, now I'm back into the section I was when I restarted this whole rewatch like a month or two ago, and now I'm just like, it just feels kind of forced. I'm just like, well, I kind of just saw this, and I don't really want to pay attention. Like, it's not like in English, so I have to like read, and but like with some stuff, like I think like a show like Breaking Bad, whenever it was on, like how the AMC always had like marathons of Breaking Bad or like The Walking Dead, it'll be like New Year's marathon of Breaking Bad, and it'll just like over the course of 3 days, it'll just be playing like 24 hours a day. Like sometimes that would come on, and me and my sister would just like be flipping through channels, and we'd land on it, and then we would just like watch the rest of the marathon pretty much. So I think just with some shows, like some shows just like really, like I really like catch me off guard. But I don't think, I think for the most part, like it's not, even though I'm the one that brought it up, it's not like an anxiety thing as much as it is just like, you don't have, it's like candy, you don't have to like put a lot of effort, like candy or fast food. It's just like you already know what it's gonna be, right? Like you don't have to like put a lot of effort. What? Do you disagree?
I disagree in the point of your fast food example because of your sometimes troubled relationship with McDonald's.
This is their troubled relationship with me, man. They just don't like me sometimes.
Hey, look, I'm just saying.
I pay their prices every time.
I'm just saying, like, maybe there's a guy at McDonald's headquarters and, like, you're on the blacklist.
I know, what did I do?
It's just like, your, like, St. Thomas ID photo. It's like, this guy, we must make sure we get his order wrong.
I think it's because I have them figured out, man. Because I be ordering that dollar menu.
Yeah.
Or that value menu, whatever it is now.
His value, yeah.
They're like, this guy's taking too much advantage of our generosity. And I'm just like, I'm taking all that advantage.
Last week is totally unrelated. But after the podcast, I went to McDonald's. And I think maybe they had an extra cone or whatever, because I pull up to the second window. He's like, do you want an ice cream cone? I'm like, oh, I didn't have that. He's like, yeah, I know, but do you want it? I'm like, did something happen to it? He's like, no. I should have asked more questions, but I'm like, yeah, I'll take it.
You can't lick a gift horse in the mouth.
And it wasn't even one of those like small little ones. It was like all the way. I don't know what the deal was with this ice cream cone, but it was like the ratio of say this was the cone, and then this much was like the
so
ice
like
cream.
2-to-1 kind of.
It was ridiculous. Like I thought I was gonna crash leaving the drive-through, so I didn't even make it out. I just pulled over to like one of the closest parking spots.
I just ate it there.
Yeah, and then
man,
it was about 2 minutes in, and I look over and like there's somebody next to me in their own car. I'm like, God, this is awkward. And I just kept eating it.
Yeah, I don't. What do you think? Have you ever used the little order online thing where you just park in the designated spot
No,
and you're like, I'm
no.
here?
I tried to do it once, but my phone didn't have enough space because I had too many memes.
Yeah, I tried it one time and it was weird because like they don't, at least in my experience, they didn't tell me anything. And like, I told them I was here, and the thing's like, okay, order's coming, and then it was like, your order has been delivered, and I was like, no, nothing has come, and then like I got a knock on my window like a couple minutes later, and I was like, what the heck, like, this is so weird. I should have just gone through the drive-through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain things where it doesn't work out the same way, but I'm sure they're trying.
I know this is way off topic now, but we're just gonna carry this on. What is the most amount of time you've ever spent waiting in a drive-through line?
Oh man, probably about like 15 minutes.
15?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
so
not
not
much at all.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's usually at a Whataburger because I have one by my house. And
yeah, Whataburger takes a while.
Yeah, it's usually I go about 15 if it's that typical Friday night rush.
Mm-hmm.
And over there where I live in Katy, people just want their Whataburger, and I usually go about 9:50, 10 p.m.
I feel like 15 is like average for me. I don't know, unless it's like McDonald's where they just like, or Chick-fil-A where they just like try to get you the heck out of there.
Really? Because I've stopped going to Chick-fil-A just for that.
For the drive-thru?
Yeah.
Oh no, dude, they're so quick. Like, it's always a huge line, but they're so quick.
I have the opposite. It's always long. Not that I don't mind doing it for Chick-fil-A, but it's just that the line will stretch so far out, and sometimes they're so far and in between for like, okay, I don't have to go to just Chick-fil-A. Like, say I'm leaving from your house right now. There's one on not 59, but on 66 that I can go. And if that doesn't work out, I can go on to Briar Forest to get another one. And if that doesn't work out, then I'm doomed. I have to just keep driving until I find another one on Westheimer. So
I've spent like an hour plus before.
Really?
In a drive-thru, yeah.
You need that food, huh?
Well, it was so whenever they first opened, whenever they first opened the In-N-Out. Yeah, like big deal, In-N-Out in Houston. I remember I was in there for over an hour. It wasn't just me, so it was okay. Yeah. But it was like,
it was just you. That's another story.
Yeah, no, I would have gone insane.
You and your podcast was playing all. At once.
Yeah, I had my podcast on my phone and then like the radio on.
Yeah.
I just been like, get me out of here. Yeah, now we've looped back to it.
That actually it does happen to me sometimes. If I'm like stuck in traffic a lot, I'll put on a certain podcast, and this has happened so much just because I need to drive everywhere. Right now during this pandemic / quarantine, it helps out a lot because whenever NPR is finished for like their usually daily run, I'll put on something else, and sometimes it's another NPR podcast. Sometimes I'll branch out. So he hasn't put anything out recently, but I used to just, if I wanted to get into that weird headspace, put on the Handsome Rambler from Hannibal Buress.
Oh yeah, he hasn't put out anything in like a year. It feels like.
Yeah, for that one. He didn't put out a special though. If you guys haven't seen that, go watch that. Yeah.
It's good too.
I've actually been catching a lot of comedy specials. I think something about the past 3 years I've really grown to appreciate comedy and stand-up. So. Yeah,
I've never I've been to a surprising amount for me, comedy shows like in person, but for some reason stand-up specials never like caught me until like John Mulaney, who I've seen in person.
A lot of people credit that whenever he came onto Netflix, and this is good stuff.
Yeah, John Mulaney is so funny, and
sorry, I'm just thinking about. Do you remember how, I forget which one it was, but he talks about how people thought he was an Asian child for the longest time.
Mom, today I met this kid with no eyes. Yeah, that was such a good joke. But yeah, it's funny because John Mulaney, even though he's like, pretty like non-offensive, like inoffensive. Like, yeah, he does like, he's not afraid to like talk about certain topics, but he's pretty inoffensive. But still, like a lot of the times he goes so like overboard with like his like, whether it's like a voice he's making or like he's like very serious about something, like harping on something. Like it still kind of makes it awkward to watch. Like what if there's other people in the house?
Yeah.
But that's why I think that I think YouTube Premium, man, not an advertisement. YouTube Premium is kind of like poisonous for me, because like anything, it just I could just put it on, and then I don't have to have I can just close my phone, put it in my pocket, and then just I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, you're like Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. I have the power of the sun in my hands.
Yeah, it is. What does he say? It's like it'd be a crime not to finish what we've started, or something like that.
Listen to me.
Listen to me. Oh man, shout out to oh my gosh, don't tell me, Alfred Molina.
Yes.
Gosh, I love that guy.
Quick with that.
Yeah. What's his? Yeah, I wanted to ask you what is the last movie that you saw?
The last movie that I saw.
Mm-hmm. Well, say the whole thing, start to finish.
What do you mean start to finish?
Like that you've like not like ones that you've just like kind of seen part of. Or whatever,
I started the movie and I finished the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! It probably would have to be. This is gonna sound so bad. It would probably have to be Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, in December?
Yes.
Like the first time you saw it, that's the last time you watched it?
No, probably the fifth time I saw it.
But that was in December still.
Still in December.
So you haven't watched the movie since December?
Nope.
What the heck? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
5 times?
5 times.
Wow.
The third time, I watched it a little bit, then I was like, you know what? I'm here already. Might as well close out 2019 with a bang. Went to go watch Cats. Felt like I was in a fever dream. Then watched Star Wars, and then I drove home that night, and I just kind of lay down for a couple of minutes while I got home. Not doing anything, not on my phone, no music, just in the dark.
So you were pretty close from Cats being the last movie that you saw.
It was very close to that.
Wow.
Because that same day, it was when Cow Chop ended.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, it was a mix of emotions. I was driving to work. My boss said, hey, I forgot to tell you it was a half day, so you don't have to come in. So that's why I went to the movies in the first place. So, it was a lot of conflicting emotions.
Man.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I'm like a normal person. So, the last movie that I watched was last week. And it was Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
Which I've never seen before. And like,
a lot of drugs in it, huh?
It's just a long movie. And I was just like, man, I'm really glad I like never watched this with like my dad or anything. Yeah. There's some stuff that happens in that movie that I wish I had never known existed.
Yeah, some things better left unknown.
Yeah,
ignorance is a bliss sometimes.
But it is funny because the movie like it hit Leonardo DiCaprio's character's first wife was the mom on How I Met Your Mother. She's like the mother. Mm-hmm. And it made me kind of want to watch How I Met Your Mother again. Yeah. And I was thinking about that. Like, I feel like
are very much the type of people. If we see certain things or a certain person, it'll trigger another thing. Like, oh, maybe we should catch this. Maybe we should catch that.
Definitely. And so I just started watching a bunch of How I Met Your Mother clips on YouTube. And then for some reason, YouTube kept sending me like Breaking Bad clips.
Yeah, sometimes I'll get that too.
Yeah, so I just started watching a bunch of those and a bunch of the first thing. So it was How I Met Your Mother and then Lost.
Oh, okay.
And then, cause like I think because How I Met Your Mother's finale was so controversial that like they compared it to like the Lost finale, which was like the most controversial finale ever. So I guess it went that way, and then Breaking Bad, and I'm like, I really want to watch all of these shows, but like I can't. I want to like commit to them,
Yes.
So like it almost needs to be one of those like lightning in a bottle things, like for a Breaking Bad marathon where just like I didn't have anything to do. It was on all the time, so I watched it. But I don't even know where I would watch How I Met Your Mother.
It's not on any streaming platforms.
I think it might be on like the CBS one or something. I know the Big Bang Theory is like on HBO, not an ad.
Really?
There's so many ads.
Really?
Yeah, I think they like made a big deal about buying it, and I think they get Friends too.
Oh man, Friends is like the holy grail as well as like
Seinfeld, The Office,
the Curse of the Black Pearl kind of deal. It's like everybody tries to find it and to buy it, but once you buy it, you only have it for a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a new streaming platform comes up like, hey, we have the rights to this show.
Yeah, wasn't it like? Didn't Netflix pay like $100 million for 1 year or something? That's wild.
And I don't know if they knew it was just for 1 year or if like something else came through with that.
I think it was. I remember it being like really short, and I'm like, What?
Because in during that year, people kept telling me like, "Oh yeah, I watched this episode of Friends. I watched this episode of Friends."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched it actually the whole way through for the first time.
Yeah.
I had seen like occasionally, I'd seen a couple episodes because my sister like loved it growing up, but I never watched it myself. I remember at one time, her and my cousin who also lived with us, he bought her like a board game of Friends.
Oh wow.
It might still be in her room, even though she doesn't live here anymore. And it was, we played it to like try it out, and I'd never seen the show. Like I knew the characters' names, but I had like never watched the show, and like I think I won. I was good at games, but yeah, it was pretty funny because it was like trivia, but like not as much trivia as you would think. And I'm pretty good at trivia. Huh?
That's
trivia, Hank. Surprise? Then disappoint. Shout out to Mike Judge and Stephen Root. Well, I say that was extremely casual. What do you think, Brendan?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty casual. What was today's topic again?
McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah. Funerals.
Yes. I want McDonald's at my funeral.
Yeah, the cater your reception.
Yeah,
no, what's it called? Viewing. Whatever the part of the funeral where you eat. Yeah. Please follow us on Instagram at Casual Bois Podcast. Subscribe to the Casual Bois on YouTube, or listen to us on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Our funerals will be held at I don't know any funeral home names, but we'll have funerals eventually, and there will be different kinds of Halo music. So make sure you go to both.
This is your backyard.
Yeah. Join us next time for more Join us next time for more casual conversations with
the Casual Bois.
Bye-bye.
Buy some McDonald's.